on an arrest warrant that was issued from my office. This several-month investigation came to light on February 21st, 2013, when members of the Indiana State Police, investigators with the Indiana Attorney General's Office, as well as investigators from Harris County Prosecutor's Office, executed a search warrant on Dr. Kelty's medical office. Yesterday, a total of 22 charges were formally filed against Dr. Kelty. Of these 22 charges, 7 counts were Class B felonies, which are dealing in a controlled substance. 5 counts were Class D felony, which is sexual battery. 4 counts were Class D felony Medicaid fraud. 4 Class D felony counts of theft. There was 1 count of C felony corrupt business influence, in addition to 1 B misdemeanor battery charge. The affidavit for probable cause to issue the arrest warrant details multiple occasions with multiple patients whereby Dr. Kelty was sexually abusing in his office. The probable cause affidavit further states that Kelty was prescribing unnecessary and dangerous levels of controlled substances. In the affidavit for the search warrant that was performed on February 21st, it was stated that virtually all of Kelty's patients were being prescribed hydrocodone, and that some patients were receiving a cocktail of hydrocodone and Xanax, and that combination of those taken concurrently is 8 times more likely to result in an overdose. In addition, the affidavit for probable cause for the arrest warrant stated that Dr. Kelty was requiring his patients to submit to unneeded office visits and office procedures, which ultimately would be turned in as unnecessary claims constituting Medicaid fraud. The Indiana Attorney General, Greg Zeller, has asked me to pass along some of the following information, and that his Medicaid fraud control unit works jointly with law enforcement to investigate the overprescribing of controlled substances and other violations. Also, the Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division on March 25th did file a disciplinary licensing action against Dr. Kelty to ultimately take his medical license. Attorney Zeller also asked me to pass along that in both his investigative and licensing efforts, his office will work closely with county prosecutors and police to ensure that patients are protected from unsafe and illegal activities conducted by providers. Yesterday, the bond was set at $200,000 full cash. After a hearing today, the bond was lowered to $15,000 full cash. Naturally, given the nature and allegation of the charges against Dr. Kelty, my office is making prosecution of this matter priority number 1. Ultimately, as prosecuting attorney, you're tasked with keeping your residents safe, and my office is going to vigorously uphold that responsibility. It needs to be stated that everything mentioned here today can be found in the probable cause affidavits, either for the search warrant or for the arrest warrant. Likewise, in Indiana, there is a presumption of innocence. So Dr. Kelty should be presumed innocent throughout these proceedings. Any questions? I'm going to be able to take some questions. I may or may not be able to answer them, but I'll do my best.
Can you talk about the seriousness of the pelvic exams and the sexual batteries?
I'm sorry, what?
Can you talk about the sexual battery and the pelvic exams, how serious that is? There was laughter in the courtroom today, and you guys were...
Right, I think our comments in court address the laughter. There's nothing humorous or funny about any case in the Harrison Superior Court. They're always serious. Some are certainly more serious than others. Anytime you have B felony, in addition to cases of dealing with sexual abuse, we take it extremely serious and didn't find anything that was worthy of laughing at. So that prompted some level of exchange between the prosecutor's office and the counsel for the defense.
Your response to the judge agreeing to lower the bond was something obviously you argued vigorously against.
Sure. At the end of the day, bond does not affect my case. It does not go to the merits of the case. That is the sound discretion of the trial court, and we're certainly understanding of his decision, and that does not affect my criminal case in any way whatsoever.
He did make the point, Otto, that the judge did that, given the fact that the man's assets are frozen, then, coming up with $200,000 may be difficult.
Sure.
At least that's what he implied. Were you all ready for that, given the fact that you've been involved in freezing the assets in a civil
Correct, it's not uncommon for bonds to be lowered or to an appropriate amount as determined by the trial court, so, you know, obviously, we really, were in agreement with the bond, and we had no real, say over whether or not it gets lowered or not, but that certainly was not necessarily a surprise that was going to happen.
Another question on the assets, 3.3 million in the accounts or plus, the art collection?
That is
So
not
separate values?
correct. Those, to my understanding, art collection is not included as a term and condition of that 3.1 million. That was actual seized from the bank.
Do you think, assuming that he's able to get out, is released on bond, do you think the public is any danger from him?
You know, obviously, I think our comments today in court speak for themselves, and that's frankly all I can really say as to the public safety concern. If you're present in the courtroom, I think our comments speak for themselves.
How does this case compare to other ones that you prosecuted? I mean, you said this is priority number one, so what really stands out to you about this case?
Well, obviously, this is a unique, there's a unique occupation of the defendant in this matter. The volume of charges is unique. It's a 79-page total affidavit, I believe, and with the three affidavits, the set of circumstances surrounding everything is unique. Obviously, where an individual, where a public has access to an individual, we're going to make priority, this case priority number one, and assuring that ultimately Harrison County is safe.
But today, he's not allowed to practice medicine.
That would be a question for, I believe he has restrictions. I believe the judge went through those in court today. I believe there's certain prohibitions that are currently, restrictions that he's currently undergoing additional scrutiny. But I believe the Indiana Medical Licensing Agency would be the more appropriate agency to give a full recital of the facts.
You mentioned the danger of the drug cocktail he's alleged to have prescribed. You're aware of anyone who has overdosed or been otherwise harmed in this case?
What I can tell you in the affidavit for the search warrant, it detailed at least 6 patients of Dr. Kelty that fatally overdosed.
Fatally overdosed.
Fatally overdosed.
Could that potentially lead to some other charge, a murder charge or something?
You know, at this point, given all the evidence that we have, I do not anticipate filing additional charges, but obviously there are sometimes circumstances beyond my control or what I think is going to happen immediately that may change that. So.
Can you talk at all about how you all became involved, how you became aware of what was allegedly going on in Dr. Kelty's office?
Sure, and I think, again, I keep referring to these affidavits, but the affidavit, when we get the search warrant, that probable cause affidavit, it stated how pharmacies contacted the Indiana Medical Licensing Board, and that ultimately sparked this investigation. And my office was contacted by the Attorney General.
In the affidavit, Alan, the only person who's deceased is one of those victims listed.
That's correct.
We tied the charges, but are you saying that otherwise in the affidavit there is mention of other people who overdosed whose admissions are not given?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, you have a list of dates of birth.
Correct.
And victims' initials. Only one of those is listed as deceased.
That's correct.
So separately, is there an allegation of 6 patients who died of overdoses?
The affidavit for search warrant, it goes into how there were 6 patients under Dr. Kelty's care.
So but is that in the probable
That is
cause?
not included in the affidavit for arrest warrant.
Okay.
Can you talk about, I know the trial is very far away, but if he's convicted on all of these charges, could he spend the rest of his life in prison, or what's the...
Absolutely. There's 7 Class B felonies. Each Class B felonies range penalties from 6 years to 20 years. If those were stacked, obviously my math isn't the best, but just on B felonies, I think it's 140 years. Anything else? Thank you all very much for coming out. I appreciate it.